My name is Alyssa. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I was diagnosed with stage 4 gastric cancer in May of 2023. I just, knowing the prognosis, and then now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really about to be at 2 years. It's very surreal, and I feel the weight of it daily just seeing how many people have passed, and I'm like, I'm still here. And even though it's not the best circumstances, I'm still here for whatever reason, and I still have awareness to raise. I've gone through 20 rounds of chemotherapy, um, two different lines of chemo. I've gone through 3 rounds of immunotherapy. I've had my entire stomach, both of my ovaries, my fallopian tubes, and part of my esophagus removed. Um, I've gotten hepatitis from treatment. I now have a blockage that is not allowing any food or drink to exit my esophagus. So it's just been a roller coaster of, just taking things as they come and making a plan to move forward. And that's all that we can do. Reflecting back on it, of course, there's going to be moments where I consider how things could have been differently if we had done additional testing at an earlier stage. Maybe we would have caught this before stage 4, but maybe we wouldn't have. For me, it just brings this heightened awareness of how important self-advocacy is, how important it is for you to express your concerns with your providers, even if they're telling you it's probably this. If you don't feel that, if you feel like there's still something else that could be missing, don't be afraid to press that. Even now, going through treatment, I find myself still having to press my concerns. Like, I'll bring something up and they'll say, oh, that is pretty normal. We have a lot of patients experience this. And I'll have to say, no, this feels like very familiar. And I have concerns that this is the cancer progressing. And I want to do additional testing. So even though it's unfortunate that I went through that for the first 2 years, it did teach me how to advocate for myself, and really just empowered me to move in that way and raise that awareness. So over the course of 2 years, I went back to the doctor several times with different symptoms. They began with extreme fatigue, elevated resting heart rate, then heartburn, and then unintentional weight loss and difficulty swallowing. So at first, the symptoms were pretty vague. They were just thinking it could be stress or anxiety. But once I got heartburn for the first time, that's where I kind of felt like, okay, I don't think this is anxiety, stress, or my age. It definitely feels like my body is trying to tell me that there's something going on. My life has been impacted greatly with this diagnosis. Of course, there's the emotional side of it. It's an emotional roller coaster. Some days are good, some days are not so good. You never know how you're going to feel. Some things hit you harder than you anticipated. There's definitely a heightened awareness of how precious life is and how we are not promised tomorrow. And because of that, we really try to take advantage of each and every moment that we have here. As far as physical, I am so much weaker than what I was before. I am a person who worked out regularly, ate fairly healthy, so I was very independent and felt strong for my body frame. Now I've had to watch my body essentially deteriorate before my eyes, and I've lost all my fat, all my muscle. It feels like I don't have much strength, and it's very difficult to see that and not have control. I'm used to, being able to see my body and say, oh, let me work out a little bit more, let me increase my protein intake. But with cancer, that's not an option for me. No matter how much I'm doing, the weight just keeps dropping, and feeling weaker, not being able to do things. It's difficult because you have your independence taken from you, and you just don't have control of that. You have to ask for help. But there's also beauty in that because you have your friends and your family that step up and they're there for you, and you just become so aware of how loved you are, and to have that support is just amazing. The emotional side is very difficult. Um, Throughout this, I felt like at times I was dealing relatively well. I went to therapy. I made sure to focus on self-soothing, just really taking care of me when things were hitting a little bit harder. That has worked well for me. I did a lot of grounding. I relied on my faith. But there have also been times, much like now, where things are feeling very heavy. I don't know next steps. I'm in this waiting period of where do we go from here? And each day I'm faced with the reality of being hooked up to fluids for 16 hours a day, and that's what's keeping me alive. And that just, it feels very heavy to know that without those fluids, I probably wouldn't be here. So knowing that and wanting to eat and drink and not being able to have that option, it's hard. It's difficult to navigate. Each day I'm trying my best to do little things to bring me joy, but it's just constantly in my face of I want to be able to sit down and enjoy a meal with my family. I continued with the observation. We did scans and blood work every 2 months. We checked to see how much tumor DNA was circulating within my blood. In July, I noticed that my weight started dropping drastically and my fatigue was increasing. It felt very similar to how I was feeling prior to my diagnosis. So I expressed those concerns to my provider, let them know, hey, I'm not feeling great. I feel like something is off and we need to do some additional testing. We did an endoscopy and we did not find anything. And I was able to push for a laparoscopy where they cut some holes in my abdomen, went in with cameras, and we were able to locate that there was cancer in my peritoneum. So from that point, we began the second line chemo. I started doing that, but I started to experience regurgitation. Every time that I would eat or drink, my body would respond in a way that was letting me know something was wrong. I would feel my heart pounding through my chest, and then I could feel my esophagus start to contract and push that food or drink back up. And it went from it happening every so often to more frequent, and then it became to the point where it was every single time that I ate or drank, I was regurgitating, throwing up 20 to 30 times a day. And I just so badly wanted to be able to eat and hold down calories, so I just kept trying, and I was telling my team about this. So of course they wanted to get me with GI and see what could we be missing, because we've already done the endoscopy, everything looked okay. And so they were talking about doing another endoscopy because a couple months had passed, but the treatment that I am on causes GI bleeding, so it wouldn't be safe to do so. In the meantime, they said, let's do a barium swallow test where I would swallow some contrast. They would take x-rays as I swallowed just to make sure that everything's functioning the way that it's supposed to. Well, the test is about 10 minutes long, and the liquid should pass through your body within a minute or so. But as we did the test, we saw that no liquid was exiting my esophagus. Instead, it was contracting and moving back up. And then after the test was completed, I threw up the contrast. So at that point, they sent that information to my care team, and my care team called me and said, you need to go to the emergency room immediately. We need to start a workup. So I did, and then I was informed that I would have to stay at the hospital for a week, that they were very concerned about my hydration and nutrition. from that point, we just started kind of bouncing ideas of what's going to be the best route, because there was that risk of GI bleeding if they were to try to go in to do a feeding tube or an endoscopy to see what's going on. So ultimately, it was decided for me to do total parental nutrition, where I would receive all my nutrients through my port. That would be delivered to my bloodstream and not go through my digestive system. And we will be using this as a bridge until we are able to safely go in and do the endoscopy, get eyes on the blockage, what exactly is causing it, and then we can go from there. So with the total parental nutrition, this is something that I administer at home. They send me all the supplies. They did a hands-on education. And so each night I have to prepare my meal and hook it up to my port. And then it runs over the course of 12 hours. And so those nutrients are just flowing through a pump. We're not even going through the digestive system at all, just directly to my bloodstream. And with that, there are some risks. The number one risk being infection. With me having to do this daily, I am access daily, which means there's a needle inside my port at 24/7. If that needle were to get exposed, wet, I could get an infection very easily. As well as if the nutrients that are being administered, if any kind of bacteria comes in contact with that, my bloodstream would not be able to handle that. So we just have to be very careful, which is why it is a last resort. But at this point, we don't have any options, and we're hoping to just use this as a bridge until we can look at other options. I actually have my machine right here next to me. I don't want to use it though. It's like this machine that sucks my saliva out for me. I'm either hooked up or suctioning that, and yeah, the little things. And honestly, a lot of things I was like, okay, I can't eat, I can't drink, and that's heavy enough. But not being able to swallow my own saliva, that's just insane. And then one day I got this extreme pain in my abdomen, and I was just wondering what is going on. I don't know what this is. I've never had this before. And I was just hunched over in pain, and I just thought to myself, I can't even take anything. I can't take any pain medication, and I didn't even think about this. I feel so helpless at this point. I can't do the things that I would typically do to try to help myself. And then it really hit me, like, if something goes wrong, my only option is to go to the hospital. And that's insane to think, like, just something so little as having pain. Oh, you gotta go to the hospital. Something that I feel like has been helping me a little bit has been chewing food and spitting it out, or swishing around liquid and spitting it out. As much as that feels wasteful because food costs money, it does help me feel like I am getting to taste it a little bit. I don't get to swallow the food or drink, but at least I'm getting some sense of, food or drink being in my mouth. Just curbing that appetite a little bit, but I never feel full, so there's that problem. But of course I'm not going to feel full because I'm not swallowing it. But yeah, it's just, I found that ice cream is like my favorite thing right now, I guess because it's so cold and it takes a while to like break down before I have to spit it back out. So that's been my go-to lately. I feel like a lot of it is just me wanting to be mentally strong. I feel like if I start to stay in the place of feeling depressed, that's also going to have an effect on my body, because it's okay to feel stressed, it's okay to feel sad. Those are very natural responses to these things going on. But if I stay in that state of emotion for a long period of time, that can weaken my immune system. And I don't want that. So also I want, for the time that I am here with my family and friends, to be positive. I don't want it to be, well, she's sad, she's, she is stuck in bed because it's just hitting her hard. And it's okay if that happens at times. I just don't want to stay there. So for me, I just try to focus on the small wins each day. Every morning that I wake up, it really does feel like a blessing because I go to bed at night with worries of, will I wake up tomorrow? And I mean, that's something that can happen to anyone in their sleep, but it feels so heavy. And so when I wake up, I'm like, I got one more day. I got more time. What am I going to do with this time? I'm going to create some memories. I'm going to try to be positive. And as much as the situation is not the best, I want to make the best of it and focus on the things that I can control. Right now, I'm in this state of not knowing the go forward plan, but if I just keep stressing about how I don't know the go forward plan, it's just gonna stress out my body, and I'm still gonna not know the go forward plan. So I just try to focus on taking care of my emotions, doing the things that bring me joy, creating memories with my family, because that's what's most important, and we'll get to the next steps when we get there. I received feedback from people messaging me and saying, because of your videos, I pushed my doctors. I finally got a diagnosis. I am so grateful that you put this information out there. And just in general, raising awareness, people saying, I did not know this about stomach cancer. I think all of those things are so important because, we need people to know that we can push for additional testing. We need to know the areas of concern. If you're experiencing this, it may not be normal. You may need to ask for additional testing. And yeah, just raising awareness about things that we don't know about, because if I didn't know about total parental nutrition and I knew that I had a blockage and I couldn't eat or drink anything, I would feel like that was the end of my days, because we need food and drinks to continue our lives. So yeah, I definitely want to raise awareness about that, and then showing people what it looks like, so that way if they see other people out in public, it may not be that they're on total parental nutrition, but they can, know there may be some kind of health condition that they're dealing with. And besides that, just how I look day to day. Sometimes you see people and you don't know what they're going through. So by sharing my story, my experience, I feel like it raises awareness about that. I think I've learned that I that I'm able to really navigate through difficult times and focus on the positives. I had been told before that I was a positive person, and I felt like, well, yeah, there's so much good in life, why not be positive? But being faced with adversity, um, trial after trial, these things that are just loaded onto me, and working through these big feelings of uncertainty, feeling lost, hopeless, and being able to step out of that, and still see the positives in life, um, and, use it to do some great things. I can't change my circumstances, I can't change my situation, but I can share it with others. I can hope to help others, whether that be to raise awareness about stomach cancer, raise awareness about self-advocacy, or just in general about how you can take something that feels so heavy and not stay in that place of sadness. How do you navigate through that? So just sharing that with people and trying to be vulnerable that, yes, I am feeling this and this is what I'm doing. It may not work for you, but it's worth trying. I've learned that life is not promised, which we know, but there's definitely a heightened awareness of that we are not promised tomorrow. I've learned that we should prioritize the things that matter most to us. We have competing priorities, and that's perfectly fine, but we really want to focus on what's most important, because again, we are not promised tomorrow. And when we look back, I'm sure we want to be able to say, I put this first because that's what's most important to me. And I'm glad that I invested so much time in making memories with that or moving forward with that. So yeah, I feel like it's taught me a lot about that in life, and just trying to be aware that you never know what people are going through at all. I mean, it could be anything, and you just never know what people are going through, and it makes it so much easier to try to go out and be a good person because you don't know what they're dealing with, whether it be at work, at home, within their family. People just keep going and try to live life, but they're carrying this heavy weight, and it doesn't take much to just be a nice person. The relationships have changed with my family and friends. We are very aware of what we're facing. So, of course, we want to make as many great memories as possible. I was able to go on my dream vacation in the fall, this past fall. I wanted to experience Disney World during Halloween time. I'd never gone. And so I went with my family and my spouse and our son. And it was just a beautiful thing to be able to experience that. We want to keep making memories. We've gone to a state park, just little things here and there, trying to create the best memories. I'm still trying to carry on that sense of normalcy, so I'm still trying to clean when I can. I just take a lot of breaks. I love to cook. I cook every single day. If I don't cook, it's very, very rare. It's more likely that we're busy doing something rather than I don't feel well, because for me, cooking is also something that helps soothe me because I'm so consumed in creating the dish with love that I'm focused on that, and I'm not hearing all the other thoughts that are going in my mind when I'm just sitting. So it's kind of an escape, and then afterwards I get the reward of, okay, I created this and now my family gets to enjoy it. Yeah, I would say definitely those things. My spouse and my son and I, we really want to maximize the time that we have together because we truly don't know how much time we have. So we're trying to do things, trying to go on hikes more, trying to go out and explore the area. And we made the decision recently to homeschool our son. That way I get more one-on-one time with him. I can help him with his schoolwork. And because I'm not having to work around his school schedule, we can say, hey, let's go enjoy this together. And we just think it's a really good idea and something that he'll be grateful for in the future, that he got that extra time with me. My biggest advice is to prioritize the things that matter most to you. For me, it's my family, and I want to spend as much time with them. I feel like we get so caught up in this world of working to live, and we may lose a lot of time of truly living. And just having this heightened awareness of how precious life is, it just really changes my mindset of, knowing, if things don't go your way, you communicate that. But if someone continues to not try to do things to cater to your feelings, then it's like, I don't know, I just tell my friends, life is too short. Don't stick around in a situation that is not helpful. You're so worthy of truly living life. Each day should feel beautiful. You should be focusing on those things that matter most. Yes, this part of my day sucked, but then my family and I enjoyed dinner together. We had game night and we created these great memories. I am beyond grateful that I have the opportunity to share my story because again, I am not able to change my circumstances, but if I can help one person in any way, that makes it worth it. That makes it, it's like, this is not the best situation, but if somebody tells me, because of your story, I was able to get a diagnosis, I was able to find treatment, now I'm on my way to feeling better, that's what I want. And I feel like, yeah, the more that we know, the better we can do, the better the world can go, because, you know, cancer in young patients, it's not that common. It hasn't been that common. And because of that, a lot of times it may not be on the doctor's radar when they're going through some vague symptoms that you're experiencing. But the more that we talk about it, the more that it's okay, even though this may not be common, we still need to roll it out. So I'm just beyond grateful that I have the opportunity to share my story, my experience, and I hope that it can help make a change in the world and people's experiences, and hopefully help in treatment options, because not just with stomach cancer but other cancers as well, there's a lot more research that has to be done so that we can have better lines of treatment. I will keep fighting to be here for as long as I can be, because I do want this time with my family and friends, and that's all that we can do.
Alyssa is so brave, and we are so thankful she gave us an update in her story. If you missed her first story with the patient story, make sure to click here. Also, click here to join our community. And remember, you can catch a new story on our channel every single day of the week.